Investment relations with Nigeria, the finance minister is speaking to investors in Europe. Francis is standing by with more in the business news on that story. Francis, what do you have?
Thanks for Bakshni. Well, yes, so Pravin Gordhan speaking to us just a short while ago from London. The finance minister says he has a tough job ahead to convince world rating agencies not to downgrade South Africa's economy to junk status. Gordhan is on a roadshow to clarify South Africa's economic plans and policies, which will also take him to the United States. He spoke to the SABC after concluding that trip to London, also responding to criticism from political opponents as to why he wasn't in Parliament. Let's cross now to our UK correspondent Dan Whitehead. Dan, so the first leg of this roadshow done and dusted. How did it go in London?
Well, according to the finance minister, who I was with less than an hour ago, it went pretty well. He has a very tough job, as you've been explaining on the SABC over the last 24 hours or so, and he's certainly putting the work in. He's met with 200 delegates and investors over the last 24 hours. He only touched down in London yesterday morning and went straight into meetings after arriving from South Africa. He told me that South Africa was very much still loved in this part of the world, and that was reflected in the responses which he has had from many of the investors, which he has been trying to reassure. And that message which the finance minister has really been pushing here in London, in the city of London, over the last 24 hours, is one that South Africa is a stable and well-functioning economy. You also mentioned there, of course, that he responded to the criticism from political opposition as to why he wasn't in Parliament for a debate today. He said that it was critical that he was here for not only the economy but for the South African people, that at this time of economic uncertainty in South Africa, he was here to reassure those global investors. So that is what he has been doing over the last 24 hours and will continue to do so as his trip moves forward now onto the US.
And Dan, we'll play that interview, your interview with the finance minister, as soon as it becomes available. It comes down to this junk status on everybody's lips, the possibility of a downgrade. It sounds like he is taking that quite seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And asked him how difficult that makes his job. He said that his job is incredibly tough because of that threat. And actually, there is a time limit on this. The three major world ratings agencies will carry out their mid-year assessments on South Africa in June, which is actually only sort of, 8 to 12 weeks away. And that's all he has to convince these agencies that South Africa is a viable investment and has a stable economy. There was some good news which he portrayed. He said that after his budget, which of course he gave last month, one ratings agency at least has said that it has no further questions, and actually it was reassured by some of the messages which he put forward throughout his budget. However, there are at least two others which he has to convince by June, and it's not just simply looking at the balance sheet. These ratings agencies travel to South Africa. They look at civil society, they look at the stock exchange, they look at business confidence, lots of different measures how they look into this, and there is a time limit on this. So this isn't certainly just something which the finance minister has to convince here in London. He's got to convince investors around the world that after some of the difficulties which the ministry had back in December and the turbulence which hit headlines around the world for the wrong reasons have now calmed down, and that the institutions which deal with South Africa's economy are in good hands going forward.
Dan, where's he off to next?
He leaves today and flies to Boston. He'll have a day in Boston in the United States tomorrow. Then he follows that with 2 days, 48 hours in New York, where he'll continue to meet potentially again with hundreds more global investors, taking that message of South Africa's strength to the US next.
Thank you very much. Dan Whitehead, correspondent from the UK, reporting live from London, and we'll bring you that interview with the finance minister shortly, hopefully still in prime tonight. Now.